Hello everyone and welcome back to MixBuzz TV mixing and mastering tutorials on YouTube. I'm your host David and this is gonna be one of my rants. If you follow the channel, you know that I don't do these videos just for kicks. I do feel there's a lot of misinformation out there that will make you spin your wheels when trying to learn the art of mixing, so I try the best I can to help you avoid wasting your time and money on things that either are not so important or flat out silly. In this video, I want to talk about marketing new products and, most important, filtering information. Information that you can gather from forums, magazines, and other publications where you see advertisements and where new products are presented, and in general in places where people talk and give advice about recording, mixing, and mastering. The NAMM just ended a few weeks ago and a lot of new products came out as every year, and while I won't go into details on what I find interesting and what I think is complete bullshit, I do want to say that I see a scary trend in some of the new products that have been presented this year so far. But let's get to the meat of this video, which is how to filter information that you find online, how to choose the right sources of your information, and how to recognize stereotypes that you will inevitably encounter while studying and asking for help on the web. Internet is an amazing tool that allows everyone to learn pretty much anything from home and free for the most part. There's a lot of useful information on the web on any subject, including mixing and mastering. I'm myself a content creator, so I do believe mentoring and giving back is important. It makes me a better engineer, makes me accountable for my work, and most important, helps others. And I try to do this the best I can. I keep things as real as they get because, well, that's just how I am and how I operate. I never comment on things that I'm not familiar with, nor I'm afraid to say I don't know. The problem with all the easy accessible information on the internet is that along with the good information, there's also a lot of crap. And unfortunately, mostly is crap. And if you don't learn how to filter good information from crap, you'll end up spending years, and I'm not exaggerating, years trying to get better at this craft without any appreciable result. Actually, bad information makes you, without a doubt, a worse mixing engineer. There was a time ages ago in which I fall into this pit myself. I started mixing without knowing anything about mixing. I was doing it because I had no other choice. I was a professional musician at the time and I simply couldn't find anyone able to translate my ideas, the sounds I had in my head, into recordings. And so I started doing it myself, and I had no idea what I was doing, technically I mean. Despite that, I was able to create the sounds that I had in my head, and my first attempts at mixing weren't bad at all. So because of these good enough results, I developed a passion for mixing and mastering, and that became my job later on. But when I started getting more serious about mixing and mastering, I obviously started to educate myself. And like most people, I also used internet as one of my sources. What I realized sometime after that was that my mixes got worse. I couldn't understand at the time that was happening why. I mean, technically I knew more than I did before when I was doing things by ear, and yet my mixes were worse. The problem was that I wasn't able to filter my information, and I was applying whatever I felt was good information to my mixes, without debating if the sources of that information were legit or not. Obviously, some of that was because I didn't have the years of experience that I had later on, left alone now. But it wasn't only that. It was because I didn't think about calling into question my sources. I was a kid and I was reading around, and immediately I had my first experience with the guy who has a ton of gear. When I had someone with a lot of gear telling me something, I assumed it was good information by default. Because hey, this guy's got all these racks, he must be good at it. Nothing could be farther from the truth. No, owning a lot of gear doesn't automatically make you a good engineer. It only means you have money and you like to collect gear. Period. Sure, sometimes the two go hand in hand. Great engineers can have a lot of gear, but these things are not mutually exclusive, nor are necessarily directly correlated, as many great engineers don't have or use every piece of gear available on the market, and only use few pieces or mix completely in the box nowadays. But one thing for sure is that having racks and racks of gear doesn't automatically make you a great engineer, nor gives you golden ears. It makes you a collector, or good at doing A/B tests at best. But when you're young and impressionable, you don't necessarily think about this. By the same token, when you see someone on a forums that has thousands of posts, you'd think he knows what he's talking about. And again, that can be very wrong. It might only means he has a lot of spare time and he likes to make everyone online aware of how much he knows. You recognize these kind of people because they never say, I don't know. And also because when you ask a question about how to achieve a certain result, they either mention the very last piece of gear or plugin that came out on the market because they want you to know how up to date they are. Or if you ask what would be better between A or B, they will tell you to forget A or B and get C or D because that's what they own, and obviously they own only the best. Now, inside this category here, you can run into two kind of people. The ones that only own a few things and have zero experience with other hardware units or plugins, and so they are convinced those are the best. The other type is the ones that have a lot of money, and so they will suggest the most expensive pieces they have, knowing that most likely you won't be able to afford them, so you will never be able to actually substantiate the information they gave you because you won't have access to the gear or the plugin. Fucked up, isn't it? Lastly, there's probably the most dangerous type, which is the kid that have no idea of what he's talking about, has zero experience, only mixed his own stuff for a few months at best, and he just reads everything he can find on the internet and blindly repeat it. I don't need to comment this type, we all know that one. He'll reply any question, possibly before anyone does it first. He'll know everything about every subject, any genre, any technique, any piece of gear, and any plugins, and his replies will always be stereotypical bullshit or show his extremely shallow knowledge. A little information is always worse than no information at all. Either you really know your shit, or you're doing the community a disservice by giving, quotes, advice, even if you mean well. Also, this type will comment on any brand spanking new product and how amazing that is, even though not him nor anybody else on the planet ever tried it yet. The fuck? So how can you tell if the information you're given is good or not? Who can you trust? Well, if you're listening to this, you're already on the right path. No, not because you're listening to me. I'm not that presumptuous, but because you're interested in the subject. You're open to call into question your sources. And that's the most important thing. Critical thinking. Don't get impressed by things people own. Everyone can buy stuff. The fact that someone can afford expensive gear doesn't make him a good engineer, in the same way that buying a Lamborghini doesn't make someone a good driver. Don't get impressed by how firmly someone states something. Probably they really believe that, even though it's bullshit, and they mean no harm. What you can do is to listen to what whoever is giving you the information has done, how their work sound, how their mixes sound, and decide for yourself. That, I feel, is the best way to gauge how good the sources of your information are. Listen to their work, but also try the advice for yourself, because some people are better teachers than engineers. And on the other hand, some great engineers suck ass at teaching because they do things but they don't really know exactly how or why some things work. They go by instinct and simply have great ears. And if you don't have the same gift as they do, what works for them will not work for you. Not if you copy exactly what they do or use the same tools in the same way they do. On top of that, you cannot teach good taste. You either have it or not. Like, for example, I can teach you how to make a snare sound snappy, but will you be able to tell when a song needs a snappy snare or when you'll feel totally out of context? One last very important thing is don't get impressed by marketing talk. And this brings me to the last part of this rant. I said this many times, I do not have any problem with marketing talk in general. We all do it in any field, but lately I've seen some pretty shady shit in this industry, and while computers, plugins, and software in general made huge jumps in the last 5 years or so, and it will keep getting better and better, some products are just a fucking joke. And I really hope you guys won't fall for them, regardless how fancy the marketing is. A telltale sign of that is when a manufacturer will say or assume, even worse, something on the line, Oh, if you don't hear how good this thing is because you don't have golden ears. Bull fucking shit. If something is that good, you will hear it. It will be obvious. Trust me, it will make a difference right away. The truth is, some manufacturer treat you like you're stupid. That's what they think of you. That you're stupid and impressionable. And that if they push the right buttons, you will feel like you have to say that product is good, or you're gonna be seen as someone who has no taste and no ears. Please don't fall for that crap. Again, when a piece of gear or a plugin makes a difference or makes your work easier, it's not that hard to realize it. So filter the marketing talk. And I'm not really talking about big companies and brands. They, for the most part, do regular marketing talk, which again, I have no problem with. We all recognize it as such. I'm talking more about some boutique brand and makers and the subtle ways they want to make the audience somehow feel inferior if they fail to recognize how great their new products are. And that's bullshit. Fuck them. I can't stand people like that. They have to prove you their products are great. People shouldn't have to kill themselves to try to hear why and how these products are supposedly so great. You shouldn't need to do 50 A/B tests to hear a difference, because at that point, if that's the case, that difference is not enough to make a difference in a mix. And I so want to name a few, but I won't. Just keep in mind they are out there right now, so stay sharp and watch out. Make these manufacturers accountable for what they promise, and call them out if they don't deliver. You can write in the comment box what your thoughts are, and this goes both for product makers and for those who teach. You know me if you follow the channel. I won't tell you how everything is great and awesome and that's every day is a great day. I'm not the kind of engineer that has clients because he's friendly and smiles all the time. Actually, in person, I usually come across as very intimidating and I have an unfriendly look if you don't know me and you've never exchanged a word with me. I have what they call the resting bitch face syndrome, if you will. I suck at PRs. I have clients because I deliver more than I talk, not because I'm pretty and nice, or because I know how to market myself. Okay, so I really didn't want to make this long, but well, I'm passionate about my job, about trying to help you, and mostly I can't stand scammers and bullshitters, so yeah, I rant. And I heard some say, oh, I'm more all about positivity and I don't like people who rant, blah, blah, bullshit. I bet they don't. They fail to understand that the message behind these rants is as important and helpful as the next mixing trick. Probably even more. And second, they usually are too politically correct and don't want to piss anybody's off because, well, they are good at PR. Anyways, this is it for this video. If you listened to the whole thing, I hope it was useful somehow, or at least entertaining. If you like this video, please click the like button, leave a comment and let me know what you think. Tell me your experience. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay updated with all the news, upcoming videos and series on the channel. Enter our giveaways and even just to stop by and say hello. Subscribe if you haven't already and see you next time.